Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our April 6th council meeting. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Roll call, Mary.
Mr. Oja?
Here.
Mr. Menegini?
Here.
Dr. Hayes? Here. Mr. Gottstein?
Here.
Mr. Ball?
Here.
We have approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of March 16th and special meeting of March 31st. Any additions or corrections?
For the regular meeting of 1549, correction. Also 1560 and 1556 are duplicates, so we should eliminate 1560 or whatever that was. They're both the same anyway. And then if we're going to mention under council comments, it says that I commented on the DDA contribution to the sewer project. I'd like to also include in the minutes that I'm strongly opposed to the DDA's contribution to a sewer project. And if we're going to mention that I also talked about Obamacare, I'd like to have included that I indicated that I felt that Obamacare has helped the hospital financially significantly. So I'd like to add those things, eliminate 1560, eliminate my no vote on the manifest, and then add those things under council comments.
Any other corrections?
And with those corrections, I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes of the regular meeting. And the special meeting. And the special meeting.
Support.
Motion made by Dr. Hayes, supported by Lee. Roll call.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Gottstein?
Yes.
Mr. Ball?
Yes.
Mr. Oja?
Yes. Approval manifest 2015-06 in the amount of $296,623.52. Dr. Hayes.
Well, the one comment, of course, is that he paid enough in unthawing fees to pay for the $7,000 for the portable generator, which is neither here nor there, I guess. But there's one other thing, but that's, I guess, all I'll say right now.
Okay, Lee.
I have nothing.
George.
Oh, excuse me, I do. I got it here. I missed it. Page 4, State of Michigan and Hanbury Lake Beach reconstruct permit. Okay, it's $500 for the permit. I know you can't look at the water without getting a permit from them. Coleman Engineering Hanbury Lake Beach permit. $1,559 for a permit?
The $500 is the permit fee. The $1,500 is the work they've been doing to put that application together. This is a whole application that they had to do.
Oh, this is for a grant then?
Yeah.
Well, it still seems like a lot.
Well, no, I don't think that's
Well, it's not for the grant. It's for the project.
It's for the project. Oh,
Yeah, for the reclamation project.
In order to get the permit, we needed to do the...
oh, had to do all that to get the permit?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just that 500 is just for the actual permit.
The actual permit, so, yeah. Okay. Okay, that's all I have then.
And then one question I had, I found was, do we have dental insurance in the recreation department? Is that something that's split amongst all the departments?
The dental under recreation would be covering Kurt Schrompus. Part of his benefits are covered under recreation as well as golf. Part of his salary and benefits are covered under recreation and golf. Okay, George.
Page 3. The third line down at the top, 6-gallon power flow tank for $170. Did you check that one out, Joe? And halfway down in that column, what would these two cartridges be from Schultz for $319? This is more curiosity than
Chuck,
anything.
100 and 102? Yeah.
That's right.
I see that. All right.
Would they be filter cartridges or?
They could be, that's the only thing that I know that uses
Just
the word cartridge in it.
Curiosity.
But I don't know that, so, but I'll get an answer for you.
Page 5. Top column. This, about halfway down at $806 for fire search controller. Ray, as a possible, I know I heard mention that they were possibly looking at buying a new infrared camera. Would that be it? or-
No. The camera's about 10 grand.
Oh,
So I can check on, see what that is.
okay, and I don't know, but I think down the second from the bottom in the top column there, the $974 for routine fire, evidently furnaces, I think is mighty high. If we're paying this every year, just to have somebody come in and check a furnace, or a couple of furnaces, I think we should possibly look around and see if we can get some prices on some of this stuff. And the last, right down on the bottom, FCC proof testing for March, $3,400 from CCI.
That's our annual federal communications proof test that we are required to do for the cable department.
Page 6. Joe, is this about 3/4 of the way down? The two large figures, $2,400, the next one is $3,000. This plant monitoring,
Yes.
is this, I know this is something that we gotta pay every quarter. Is this something that will ever go away?
No.
As long as we're hooked up with power or
No.
Wisconsin Electric?
It will never go away because we run an automated unmanned, and FERC requires us to have somebody watching it. And the dispatchers up at We Energies watch our hydro for us. So if there's a problem with it, then they call our guys out. That's what that is for. That's a contract that we made with them probably in 2002 timeframe. Yep. And the one right above it, George, is larger than with Mead and Hunt that you're asking about. That's a little bit bigger than normal because we're wrapping up the 2014 year at the hydro and our FERC compliance reporting. Mead and Hunt takes care of all that for us. So that's what that is.
Page 7. Okay, I think you probably explained this later, Joe. The fourth item down from the top, that's $2,700 for hydro.
Yes.
Is the council, the rest of the council aware of that?
I think Jeremy, Lee, and yourself. I don't know about Chris or Dr. Hayes.
If you want to go into it now, go ahead.
Okay, all right. What George is asking about here is there was a lot of turbulent water in the pits of the hydro after the original refurbishment, and a lot of air was getting into the turbines, causing a lot of cavitation issues. And so in order to address that issue, it was brought up to me that you might try buying some floating docks and install them in the pit to disrupt the water flow so it doesn't create the vortexes. And I bought 2 of them and installed them on the smaller side, and they worked wonderful. I ordered 5 more. They came in today, and we'll be installing those also. So I had Lee out there today looking at them, so if he wants to comment on them.
Yeah, I took a walk out there today, and, well, it's been a long time since I've been down there, and on the Michigan side, you could see these little vortexes all of a sudden always moving out of there. It scared me, but it wasn't consistent. It would vary from the 3 turbines that are going. You know, not all at the same time, but there'd be nothing. And then we went to the other side, and that's where you put these floats in. It's like standing on the floor here. Unbelievable. So they did the trick on that side, for sure.
Do they take the vibration out of it?
Oh, yeah.
Joe, or what?
Yeah, the unit vibrates a lot less, and you don't get the vortexes creating the tunnel where the air can follow down through
Yeah.
into the runner. It makes a world of difference. It really does.
Okay.
My only question was, why did it take so long to do this? If this has been
Trial
doing this
and
for
error,
years.
Trial and error.
Wasn't the suggestion made by the guy from NORCAN who was doing the readings? Or the
Hi-
guy from NORCAN, that NORCAN had here doing the readings?
The individual from Hydrotech
Okay.
suggested those. That's where I got the idea from.
Okay, and right down on the bottom of the page, just, why are we buying steel handled ice scrapers for the golf course for $31?
I'll check, George.
It just kind of seems out of place, really. Ice melting, I can see they're buying evidently some for,
Maybe it was a chopper. They say scraper, but maybe it was an ice chopper. Maybe you'd have a steel hand instead of a wooden hand.
okay. yeah,
Maybe.
Very, very possible, Jeremy. And page 9, quarter of the way down, $2,500 for a hydro, 7 foot 6 inch hydraulic.
Hydrant, George?
Yeah.
That's a fire hydrant. We had to buy a new fire hydrant.
Break, oh, a break.
It's a breakaway fire hydrant.
Okay.
That's what it is.
I could not put that together and understand what.
So
Yeah.
if it gets hit, it won't mess up the valve. It'll just,
Correct. The stem breaks off, the top breaks off, but the lower part, you can just replace the upper part. You don't have to replace the whole thing.
That's all I have.
yes. I have nothing either. So with that, I'm looking for a motion to approve.
Make a motion, we approve manual case 2015-06, the amount of $296,623.52.
All support.
Motion made by Chris, supported by George. Roll call.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Gotstein?
Yes.
Mr. Ball?
Yes.
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Does anyone wish to address the council on the minutes manifest or any agenda item? If you do, please come up to the podium, state your name and address for the record. If not, there'll be a time for further comment on any subject at the end of the meeting.
Hi, thank you. My name is Tom Brody, and I represent Kaiser Hydro, located at 1001 Stevenson Street here in Norway. We become aware that the city of Norway may be looking to procure a new runner for the hydro plant, and our friends we've been at NORCAN, we know they're looking for a purchase order from the city of Norway, and we were just wondering if we missed the sealed bid on that project.
If that's not on the agenda, you have to wait till later in the meeting.
That's not on the agenda. Okay, all right.
So if you can wait till the end of the
Sure, I
meeting,
can
we can
wait.
discuss it then.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. We're going to be adding an appointment and presentation to the agenda. Dan Gislink is here. He wishes to make a presentation to the city. So Dan, if you could, please come up to the podium.
Hi, my name's Dan Gisling, 405 Norway Street. I'm here to present a check for the tennis courts in the amount of $1,000. I'm hoping you guys can use it for the tennis courts.
If that's where you want it to go, that's where we'll
Yes.
make sure we use it.
Yes.
We'll make sure there's recognition out on the tennis courts of the donation.
I'm going to present this to you.
Come around.
Somebody take a picture. Oh.
Come over, we're gonna do the presentation.
Okay, thank you, Dan.
Thank you, Dan, for your gift to the city. And for the public, the check was immediately turned over to the treasurer. Okay, first thing on the agenda this evening is the approval Sturgeon Falls Hydro Facility, Unit Number 1 and 2 shaft extension. Joe?
We were going to wait on this particular approval until we got the results back from the study that NORCAN is doing for us for the shaft extension. And so Jeff came tonight to answer any questions you might have regarding the reasons why we believe that the shaft needs to be carried all the way through and support that end runner that kind of is cantilevered out on its own. So if Jeff, you have any questions for Jeff, now would be the time to ask that. But as far as getting the approval on it, I believe we're going to hold off for another meeting.
Any questions?
I have a question.
That was my first concern, and I asked Joe before, you know, if we were gonna wait to get the results back from the study first before we add them things on.
Yeah.
Or if we were just going to put it in place just on our own accord, just hoping that that was part of the problem, which you assured me it was. And I was also questioning the price of it, in which I mentioned at the last meeting, of the 2 units were $32,000 apiece, and I said, this thing, hydro is looking like an adding machine that gets stuck. Everything that comes up is $32,000. Well, Joe assured me that the price was reduced by $5,000 because of there being 2 units.
Yeah, and if you look closely at that bid, George, it's on a time and material.
Yes, and which I was glad to hear that, which
Yeah,
I had
we-
mentioned too.
We've had
That
some
we should
great success
possibly,
working on time and material.
you know, check some of the selling time material rather than just going out on a bid, say, here, you make it, and we'll give you X number of dollars. So I was much happier
Was that
with
what you, was the shaft extension what you were talking about?
That's a different item, I guess. We're unaware of the bidding process on that as well. We didn't get a chance to bid on that. Bill Harris, the owner of our company, who not be here tonight, was the primary designer. Was a primary designer along with Jeff of the hydro plant here in Norway. Bill is an electrical engineer, and we employ a number of mechanical engineers. We were just wondering who was doing the engineering for the for the extension of the shaft. I'm not an engineer, not qualified to speak to that, but we have a number of people that are, and we're right here in Norway. And we're just wondering why we weren't brought in to discuss this at all. That's just a question.
I don't believe, we opted to go with, without bidding this one. This was never bid. That's why you didn't see a thing on it. We opted to just go with Mr. Kaiser and his company to do the shaft extensions. Partially because of their familiarity with the machine, and partially that's who we just decided to go with.
Well, personally, I don't like the idea of not putting anything out on bids, except in cases of extreme emergency, which we have had down there at times. But I would still like to see it go out on bids, once the engineering is done on it and we know what's going on.
But the request tonight is to table it till beginning of March for now, so table it to March 4th,
No, May.
May 4th.
Fourth.
I don't know why I look at a calendar. I don't know. May 4th. So that's the request tonight, is to put it off till, we should have the engineering back by then, or the NORCAN report back by then. If not, then we'll just table it again.
But is that going to throw another monkey wrench in the situation of a time dragging our feet here to getting it done?
Well,
Again.
it will,
It
it'll,
seems like
Yeah.
we're
It'll-
working,
it'll-
Jeremy, so we can catch this thing in between high water.
you can't have it both ways, George. You want them to wait until that's done, so
I-
we
no, I
can't do it
agree.
ahead of time.
I
So
agree. But I think the purpose here is Joe wants to get this okayed, so when he does get an answer from the
We're go-
engineering or the study, that he can either proceed or drop the subject. Am I right, Joe?
That is a correct assessment. Jeff and I have talked about that.
I'm assuming that's
Yes.
what the situation is.
But even into May, we're gonna be into runoff. We're not gonna be, even if we decide to go with it, we're not doing it. Could approve it in May, but it's not gonna be, because we're gonna be well into runoff. We're not gonna wanna interrupt runoff to put the extension.
No, we won't be taking the units offline.
I don't.
To put
personally,
extensions
I
on.
don't think that you're even gonna be bothered by runoff this year. By now, your biggest part of your water is downstream anyhow, so I mean, what you got left up there, are the ponds full, Joe?
They're filling them right now.
Okay,
Yeah.
how much water are they gonna let go? If they're not filled yet?
There was a motion made by Dr. Hayes to table till May 4th,
All support.
supported by Lee. Any other discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Gotstein?
Yes.
Mr. Ball?
No,
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Next on the agenda, we have Resolution 2015-03, the MDNR Passport Grant Agreement, RP 14-0052. Mr. Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Some housekeeping. We got the grant agreement for the second phase of the tennis courts. We haven't started construction work yet, so we'll be able to do both Phase 1 and Phase 2 at the same time. We should see a more coordinated project by doing that. Since there's a total of 4 courts, we'll be able to do all 4 together. But as part of the agreement with the DNR, we have to pass this resolution, and then we basically sign the grant agreement and send it in. So,
Are we running into any deadlines on the Phase 1? or-
no, they have a 3-year, and we've only used it 1. So
Okay.
Do we have a tentative start date, Ray?
I don't have an exact start date because we haven't gone out to bid yet. So we're going to wait for the engineering on the Phase 2, and then we'll put them all out together. My goal is to try and work that project late summer this year. So once it gets going, it's not going to take long for the project to complete out.
Well, we got the extra $1,000 now.
Thank you very much, Dan. And we will take as many donations as we can for the
yeah.
project. One of the things that the mayor mentioned about us putting up
Save the electric utilities.
some kind of recognition. I mean, I'm a big fan of seeing what works in other places, not having to come up with something exactly new all the time. But in another location, they had a large stone that they have by their pavilion, and it has a plaque in the stone, and they made a nice area. I think that would look very nice in our situation as well, since we have the existing pavilion there. So that's what we're going to recommend, is to have something right there. So you'll be on that plaque. Yeah, I'll take a picture. I can send it to you.
Any other questions or comments? For a motion.
I'll make a motion that Resolution 2015-03 be approved.
Support.
Motion made by Lee, supported by Chris. Roll call.
Mr. Ball?
no,
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Gotstein?
Yes.
Okay, next on the agenda, Resolution 2015-04, Utility Billing Resolution. Mr. Anderson.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is something that, we've gone back and forth with the council on a couple different meetings. The first thought was we'd come out with a written resolution or a written policy, but as Mr. Carlson and myself got together, we started looking at Mary, we got together, we actually have all of the details in the ordinance. So really, all it really needs is a resolution. saying, do this particular, or follow this particular form of the resolution or the ordinance. The main part is the leaning of property for unpaid utility billing. That's clearly spelled out in the ordinance, and I think let's hand it over to Grant and see if you can explain what you did with the resolution.
Well, one of the things, this has been on the books here for some time, but for whatever reason, whether or not it be just at council discretion, the determination was made not to enforce it per se. So with it being out there for as long as it was, and again, as Ray and I sat down and we had a couple different work sessions, Jeremy was involved as well, trying to look at different ways to handle this, look at how different entities around the state have also addressed this issue. And also, I think you also see in your packet as well an accompanying rate resolution that was discussed, I think, at your special board meeting some time ago, adjusting some of the rates and looking at some of the deposit amounts. So what we did was, and to make it clear for both the community and for the staff, so the staff knew the direction the council wanted to proceed. This is an issue that, whenever you talk about, I think I've made the comment before, when you talk at all about a lien on somebody's property, it evokes certain emotions. So we wanted to make sure that we have our ducks in a row, but also that we give people every opportunity to opt out in the event that they do not want to participate. For landlords specifically, it allows through the opt-out procedure, if they want to have their tenants responsible for the utilities and they do not want to have their properties liened, that they can opt out and the deposits get adjusted accordingly. In essence, guys, what's already in your ordinances, as well as the process, the procedure, Ray and I are in the process of developing a packet for both the employees as well as for the general public to understand how this process works and to make sure that the public as well knows that we're working with them, not against them, and trying to make our community a better community as well. This resolution, in essence, directs the city council, gives the city council an opportunity to direct the people that work here with us, the staff, how to proceed, and that you wish to proceed in moving forward with this lien process and implementing this as one of the options for collecting unpaid utilities. I think the unpaid utilities are a major thorn and a problem for collections. It's been brought up a number of times since I've been up here with you folks. And George brought it up a few months ago and said, enough's enough. Let's move forward with tightening up these issues. So we've done that, and this is the first step in doing so. Secondly, there would be that utility rate resolution that's also included in your packet. The next step would be the implementation of it and working with council and staff here to make sure that it goes smoothly as best we can.
Brad, does that resolution clarify the Norway Township versus the Norway City? Because they're all on the same utilities.
I
How
believe
is that stated in there? Because you'd have to have it across the board equally. You'd have to be able to lease the township.
I believe this resolution states specifically the city itself. It doesn't address the township. Ray, if you want to.
Under the franchise agreements with the township would take the unpaid, uncollectible, and then they would lien on our behalf.
Okay, so there would be a lien on the property.
There would be a lien in the township, but it would be through the township. We can't lien township
Yeah, I
taxes.
understand that.
So we have agreements with the township on our utilities for them to basically take that debt from us, and they would then collect on our behalf.
With that program that you have for non-shut-off, so you can shut off during the winter, we've had some extensive talks about that. When the city goes to work out a program to let the utilities stay on, is there a meter read taken at that time so you wouldn't be working with the landlord's money?
Okay.
Because the bill would be still steadily climbing, which you would be arranging that to possibly take place and
Right,
not get paid.
I know exactly what you're talking about, but there are two requirements under state statute that we have to, we could take both, but basically the first is there's the winter protection plan that we have to offer by state statute.
Yeah.
All right, what that does is that says the first month that they're behind, okay, between what, November and April? All right. The first month, they have to come in and ask for, and we have to grant an agreement. And the agreement is very specific. It says you have X amount of months, but you have to stay current with your current bill, with your next bill. If you miss it, we don't even have to give you a warning. You can shut off. So it's very specific under the law on what we have to provide. The second is this home heating assistance opt-in, opt-out. If we opt out of the home heating assistance, then we can opt out, but we cannot shut off throughout the whole winter. Okay, if we opt in, which we have been opting in, then there's a per meter charge that goes to a fund for assistance through community health and some other community action agencies. So under those two scenarios, we have to go by state statute.
Yeah, I realize you have to work with that, but
Right.
like we've talked about probably a million times, me and you,
Right.
is that point in time when you say you're gonna work with this person and the point in time where they don't honor their obligations, that bill could have climbed for a couple weeks' worth of usage. And I believe that the city should be held accountable for that part of the bill.
Right.
That part of the bill, because you're playing with my money. You're making arrangements with my money, because if those people don't pay, you attach that length of, from where they came in for their proposal, their agreement, and the spot where you're cutting them off totally, which could be $100 or better. You're holding me accountable, and you're making arrangements with my money.
Let me throw something out, Mark, because Mary and I had this conversation earlier. I haven't had a chance to go through it with Grant, but under our procedures, one of the recommendations that we're going to make is that there's a whole series of there's a series of letters, information that both you would get and your tenant would get, and there's some sign-offs that you both will have. One is which program you want, because there's the affidavit. I mean,
Yeah,
by
I'm
law,
well
you can.
aware of that.
Okay,
We've
but let me
talked about that.
finish. So, under the agreements, one of the things that we wanted to maybe install in there, insert, is your tenant also having a sign-off that says, I understand that my landlord does not allow any type of arrangements being made, because the arrangements are usually not very coherent. Usually they're, hey, I don't have the money today, I'll have it tomorrow, and we have very compassionate people that work for the city of Norway. Okay, so one of the things we want to do, and that's why we have this resolution in front of council, is that I think that we have to have a very clear direction from the council as to how this procedure is going to work. For your benefit, for my benefit as staff, Mary's and the staff, and also your tenants. So your tenants understand, don't come in and ask, because it's going to be right there that you signed when you signed up that we're not going to make those arrangements. The only arrangements we have to make is the one arrangement, that winter protection plan, required by the state.
Yeah,
That's up to the council. That's up to the council as to whether they want us to not, because we have to provide that one. So that's up to the council as to whether or not they want us to, read the meter and then take that responsibility from you.
That's what I think should take
Right.
place, is up to that point, when you're starting to make arrangements with my money, you take over the liability. If those couple weeks that you made the arrangements that they don't pay, the city eats it, and it's not attached to my property taxes.
But you need to address the 5 guys sitting here, because that's the whole reason we have the resolution, is that it's the decision of the council as
Well,
to
I'm
the
for
directive
capturing
as to
the money
what we
back,
want to
don't
go.
get me wrong. I don't
Right.
have a lot of problem with that.
Right.
I'm for that, but I'm not for making arrangements with my money on the payments. And I think that there should be a meter reading at that point in time when you're making arrangements with that person and you're trusting that person that you're gonna be held accountable for that couple-week bill, not myself.
What's council's thought?
I agree with it. I think that if we're talking to people who are not paying their bills, we shouldn't put a lien on his taxes or,
You know, if you're making arrangements, why should I be penalized for it? Because I don't think that
Well-
up to that point.
Well, we have to
George,
make those arrangements
Then,
by law.
I know
if we're gonna go to that situation, then I'll say the minute we go there, it's either pay up or cut them off. Why are we gonna be the in-between man again?
That, there's no reason, other than sheer compassion, to work any arrangements outside of the months of November through April. From November to April,
Regardless.
yeah, but from November to April, George, we're required by law that as long as we have the ability to shut off, we have to provide at least 1 month of a winter protection option. It's all because of the older gentleman who froze to death down in Bay City. Okay, so we have to do that. There's no way around that. Okay, so I guess the choice would be is, you know, in this resolution that even though we have to do it, we don't have an option, that we will take the liability of any overdue at some point.
Legalities, Grant, if somebody is that far behind, 90 to 1, if they owe you $300, they owe me 600. If I was,
Well,
I was,
I know,
I
Mark,
was
but I mean,
told-
why should we be responsible for your bills?
I'm not saying that, George. I'm saying held the landlord accountable for the bill up to the point where the city is making arrangements to hold the bill to keep getting bigger, and you're working with my money, because what I could do, I was advised legally that what I could do is send a certified letter down here for Mr. Anderson to sign. And it would state that I want the utilities cut, no arrangements made. And if the utilities are not cut and they're billed to me, I could have legal repercussion. Is that true? When I'm requesting them to be cut, because I don't want to be held
I
accountable.
hear what you're saying, Mark, and I think that's a novel argument. I think it's something that you would argue in a court of law to mitigate your damages and to mitigate against a certain lien. I guess I'm not going to answer you right now. We're talking about, and this resolution doesn't address this winter shutoff. All it says is follow the laws in the state of Michigan and adopt our ordinance per the laws. I think that's a discussion that we can have, not necessarily tonight. I don't think it needs to happen tonight. We can continue having it if it's up to the council. But this resolution addresses, okay, follow through with our ordinance that's in place, and per the laws of the state of Michigan, follow through with it. Now, whether or not we're going to agree or not agree to go after or to lien that 1 month, I think that is something up to the council's discretion. But frankly, for tonight's discussion, it's not on the resolution. It's more on the meat and potatoes of the implementation of it. And along those lines, I mean, last time we were here, arguably, the city has the ability to lien even as much as for internet, phone. But
And I'm for that.
well, Mr. Gottstein brought up a good point. He said, hey, wait a minute. You know, is that an essential item that we should be leaning somebody's property for? And during our discussions, you know, the discussion took place regarding that. Number one, that's a hot button issue, and you're going to say, well, geez, do you lien somebody's property over somebody not paying internet? Mary's brought up a good point. With those services, you're able to immediately terminate and cut off any damages, as you're indicating, for landlords in that manner. So I think it's a little bit of a different situation. But as to this 1 month's winter shut-off rights, if you will, to give somebody an opportunity to not freeze to death, it's not in the resolution, and I think it's a legitimate question that should be discussed, and maybe during a special meeting it should be discussed as far as the intricacies of the implementation of this as well. But this resolution is just, hey, we're directing city council and the folks that work for the city to move forward with the ordinance that's been in place for some time now, and work to try to work with the community to make sure that it addresses issues like this and concerns like this, but also addresses a very real concern of the city, which is trying to collect unpaid utilities.
Well, I'm for collecting for the utilities. That's all I want to see, is that when the city is starting to make arrangements and go above and beyond, that they take the liability from that point on. I mean, that'd be like going down to the grocery store And Mr. Ebling's saying down there, you can't charge anything, and the person says, well, I need groceries, and somebody that's at the cashier chain, okay, yeah, we'll make arrangements, just come back on Friday. Wow, that isn't gonna go very far, and that's all I wanna see.
Like Grant said, that's part of an implementation, and we'll have other discussions at other meetings on that. If it's gonna be on a special meeting, I'll make sure you know about the special meeting, so you can be there to discuss your position. But
Yeah,
tonight,
I just kind of wanted to see before it was passed, something to talk about and then possibly put it in place, because I think that's the fair thing.
well, like Grant said, it's actually not gonna be part of this resolution tonight, but it's something that needs to be discussed.
Well, I've been here 5.5 years now, and I know it's been 4.5 years for sure that we've been discussing what to do with these unpaid bills that we get stuck with. And I guess things move real slow.
Well, I'm not saying that the city should go after the money, because I believe that they should go after the money, they should get paid.
Well, we understand.
Yeah, well, I understand, Mark. I
And we
understand.
understand what you're saying. Any others from council? Looking for a motion.
Make
Oh.
a motion that resolution 2015-04 be approved.
Support.
Does this include the rate resolutions too?
No, the rate resolutions are next. They're the next, they're 2015-05. A motion made by Chris, supported by Lee. Roll call.
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Gottstein?
Yes.
Mr. Ball?
Yep. Okay, resolution 2015-05, utility rate resolution. Mr. Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This resolution, this revision 1 of our utility and service rate resolution deals with the revision to our internet package. As you know, we've been talking over the last year about adding higher speed packages to our offerings, and we've been waiting for an update, some upgrades to our CMTS, which are now complete, and we're now capable of handling a 50 meg package and possibly in the future a 100 meg package. In doing so, it was recommended that we look at revising our packages in order to, one, be more industry standard. It's how the industry is handling some of the speeds, and the second is that it's dealing with, as soon as you open up and have a larger bandwidth, or at least a larger offering, you're going to see increases in bandwidth use. It's like a highway. You add another lane, it's going to get filled pretty quickly. So what we proposed was taking our current 5, 10, and 15 meg packages and make them 10, 20, and 30 meg packages, and then we're adding a 50 meg package. In doing so, we are increasing the dollar figure by $3 on the package. And in our previous conversation, there was some notice taken that, hey, if you're in a 5 meg package right now, I don't stream video and I don't need all that. Now you're pushing me to a 10 meg package. So what we're doing is we're adding a 1.5 meg package, and actually at a lower rate of $32. So if you're not streaming video, you should be just fine with the lower package. So it's going to be called a basic internet package. So we redid the bundling to reflect the new rates. We increased or added a 50 meg package, which would be $87 per month. And we did also add then in a bundled package, a $3 discount onto a basic, what we call a basic package, which is you have your basic internet, your basic TV, and or your Lifeline TV, and then you have your phone package. So that's basically what we're doing, with this Rev 1.
Like I had argued last time, in looking at the internet fund right now is healthy. The fund does not need increases necessarily right at this point. we're making changes to the internet fund, which does increase people's speeds, but we're also increasing everybody's rates. When you start looking at rate increases, and we're looking out for this year's, when we do budget, the majority of the other utilities are also going to be going up based on need of the fund. This is a fund that doesn't need the increase, it doesn't need the change. I don't think we should be making changes just to arbitrarily make changes and make rate increases to go along with those changes. I said that last time. Right now, the internet fund is not broke, so I don't know. I don't think we should be trying to fix it.
What about the other two funds up here, the phone and the television?
We'll be addressing those, George, during our budget hearings.
But
Those-
aren't
those
they
other
all
two-
in the same package here?
Yeah, but we didn't change the rates at all. The only rates that are changing are for the internet.
He just made a statement. I
Yeah.
mean, what are the comparison to the other funds? I mean, are they healthy or not?
I don't, they should be healthy on their own, regardless of what the internet's doing as part of the cable TV department, but
I think you have to look at it as a whole, though. That's what we're doing. I mean, industry-wide, TV is a very tough business to run. Unfortunately, sometimes the internet covers the cost of taking up slack on what TV's covering. I'm not saying that's the reason why we're doing this, but you have to look at it as a whole package. You can't look at it and say, internet's making money. You're right, internet makes money. TV doesn't make money. Phone makes us a little bit, pretty much non-issue. But you have to look at it as a whole package and not just.
as I understand, the TV is still break even.
Currently, right now, with the new rates that we were given by the channels that we take, we are not making money on that.
Which is why we were gonna be addressing that.
That's
come
why I
budget.
said we're going to be addressing it during our
When-
budget
When it
hearings.
will be brought to where it needs to be to break even. So it's still, the internet, we shouldn't be raising the internet to cover the rest. That's my feeling.
Isn't the internet more of a luxury? I mean, at one time, TV was considered a luxury. Now that's a practical necessity. A phone is a necessity, even though now more and more people are getting rid of their landlines and going with their cells. So I would think something that they want and they want to use, like you talked about streaming. I don't think I'll ever stream in my life. I like this package because it's going to go down a little bit for me because I don't need the 5 megs or the 10 megs. Probably the 1.5 is more than what I need. But if people are willing on the internet to pay for what they do, I mean, some people live on it. I think we could go that route and look at it as a package, like Chris said. And I mean, and this is your field, Chris. I mean, you do this for a living. Do you think we're in the ballpark on this stuff?
I definitely think we're in the ballpark. I mean, I don't think we're out of line on what we're asking to pay for the service that we get.
And they will be getting better service by
Faster service.
faster service.
Almost twice the speed of what they're getting before. So we're offering a fairly good increase for what I would consider a fairly minor increase in the price. I don't think most people are going to notice a $3 increase for what they're going to be getting with the, and if they don't want to pay the extra, they do have the option on the lower package. We are making that available.
Exactly.
My one concern is I asked the city manager, should we offer this smaller package? He said it doesn't make economic sense, but it makes political sense. Well, I don't think we should offer it to townships then. 'Cause we're not relying on.
Well, no, but what I was referring to was the bundle package, not the 1.5 meg package. It makes sense to have an offering of a basic. It's the same reason you would have a lifeline, and every cable operator has a lifeline basic package. It was the bundling of the basics, because right now, before this, we would have bundling, but you would have to take the extended basic TV in order to get the bundled package, or the tier 1 internet in order to get the bundled package. So we did put together bundling for the basics, the basic bundling, as you want to call it, will give you a $3. What that'll do, I guess it softened my stance by saying that, well, you have to have the phone in order to take it. So, so I guess from a business standpoint, they would take the phone and maybe they wouldn't be for it, but. Does that answer your question?
No, I'm still concerned. Why are we offering it to the townships then?
We offer our utilities to the township where we have it. We don't discriminate that way.
Personally, I would like to see us go through all these rates and offer them at one time. I don't like the idea that we're doing this piecemealing. Because we got so many increases coming. That's a shame. And I don't care. I would like to know upfront what our water rate's gonna go up, what's the phone gonna go up, what all the rest of the stuff is, what they're gonna start climbing to.
Projecting right now, just looking at the loose budget, the average household increase will be between 20 and 25 a month when you factor the internet in, with everything else that by fund necessity will likely have to go up.
That's a big raise.
Yes, it is.
And, you know, Jeremy, in 2 years, you know what your water and sewer rate's gonna jump to?
I don't have
I
it in
think
front of me,
this,
but-
well,
Yeah,
you're gonna be paying $100 a month for water and sewer. Mark my words, how many people in town can afford this? That's the point that I'm trying to get across here. You got all these rates coming, sure, it's only 5 cents here, and it's a dime there, it's $1 or $3 here. Add them all together and see how much your bill's gonna increase over the price of a year, or 2 years, or 3 years.
Well, one thing for sure, all utilities have to pay for themselves. We don't want to use taxes to support utilities. So we either have to get out of the business or raise the prices.
But, Doc, we're spending money like it's water. Anytime somebody wants something, it's given to them. Nobody complains about it.
That's why you're here to complain.
You bet.
One thing, if we do move forward, just one second. If we do move forward with this, I think we should allow at least a 1-month grace period if people want to change their packages. Because people are at 10 now, they can drop down and save $7 a month to keep 10. I think we should allow a grace period of not having the $20 utility, the change fee that would normally be tacked on there if people want to adjust around for at least a month, if this passes.
Yeah, we've already discussed that internally amongst.
I can see where George is coming from, because I think the people can't afford these utility rates, and I can see where the water and sewer is going without multicolor here. And I also agree with Jeremy, because I think that people are going to start dropping some of these utilities that are not a necessity utility, and I think that the cable is the one that's going to suffer, because people are going to take that internet and they're going to start dropping their cable. And when you start losing cable customers, we're losing them right now, that fund is really going to be in bad shape. I think that's tough.
In a bad shape. It's a 1-to-1 ratio. If they drop TV, we pay less money.
But you still have to provide that extended package, Chris. You have to pay, if you have, I don't know how many extended people you have for.
It's a
extended
1-to-1
TV
ratio,
right now.
Mark.
It's a 1-to-1 right now?
It's a 1-to-1 ratio.
But
If
people
we have
are gonna-
10 people, we pay for 10 subscriptions. If we have 100, we pay for 100. If we have 1,000, we pay for 1,000. So it's a 1-to-1. So what you have to do is you have to take however many customers you have and whatever they're charging you. And when you have 25% increases up to potentially on some of the channels, like we saw 500% on off-air, 300%, 400% on off-air, you know,
But I mean, any other thing.
do you want us to absorb that?
No, I don't think you should absorb
Okay.
it.
I
but
mean,
think-
that's what we're trying to
I
decide.
think you have to look at, people are gonna want the water turned on versus the extended internet package. And you have to keep in mind you don't have a competitor with your utilities, with your water, your sewer, your trash when you're in the city. If you pay electric, you have to have the trash, and you don't have electric competitor. You have extremely powerful competitors in the cable fund and the internet fund. You have satellites, you have AT&T barking down your throat with these internet rates that are pretty attractive
It's a
sometimes.
completely different service that AT&T offers from what the city's offering. It's a cap service, they can only use so much bandwidth per month, and the speeds don't compare to what the city's offering. So we offer a much better service than what AT&T offers, and a little bit more than what they're charging. It's not a lot. When it
I
comes to
would-
TV, we really can't touch Dish, because they offer so many specials. Once those specials go away, and once you have all the fees, the box fees, the rental fees, all the crap that comes with it, we still have probably a better service than Dish is offering from a pricing standpoint. You can't compare the two. They don't match up.
Well, I don't know, Chris.
I do know. This is
Well,
what I do. I understand this.
well,
I understand this fairly clearly. And we
I
had
was
this
in Norway
discussion
yesterday, and I watched that thing too, and you can jump from satellite to satellite on a yearly basis.
Sure, but that's satellite to satellite, like you just said. You didn't just say cable. Satellite to
And
satellite.
you're also looking at the rates. If you look at the speed of some of these internet things that are offered, I think it's going to surprise you.
No, I don't think it will.
Well, I look at it this way. If I want information on the internet, I'll go to the guy that knows it. That's Chris. If I want mechanical assistance, I'll go to George. If I need medical assistance, I'll go to Doc. Right now, we're talking internet. I gotta go 100% with Chris because he knows the system. That's what he does for a living.
The other thing that's in this utility rate changes are the utility deposits like we approved in the previous item. That if there's an affidavit against the utility lien, that it's double normal deposit. The phone, internet, and cable deposits are now going to be equal to 1 month of service selected. So those are changes that was part of the last thing. Just wanted to make sure that was out there. Okay. Does anyone want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that resolution 2015-05 be approved.
I'll support.
Motion made by Chris, supported by Lee. Roll call.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Gotstein?
Yes.
Mr. Ball?
I'm going to say no, Mary. Just the fact that I would like to know what the rest of the rates are going to be before I okay anything.
Mr. Oja?
No. Okay, next tonight, we have approval special events application, St. Mary's Church Corpus Christi procession. Mr. Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is something that came to us last year as well. It's the St. Mary's Church has a, what is that called? A Eucharist procession. St. Barbara's and St. Mary's has a Eucharist procession scheduled for Sunday, June 7th. Since they were having this procession down the main street, they need to fill out a special events application. So I think everything's in order.
All we have to do is coordinate the police to be there. I see across USA.
Yeah, we have to coordinate with a permit because you have to get them across with the light. So.
Okay,
I'll make a motion that a special event application from the St. Mary and St. Barbara churches be approved.
Support.
motion made by Lee, supported by Dr. Hayes. Roll call.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Gotstein?
Yes.
Mr. Ball?
Yeah.
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Approval, cable modem and bandwidth management services agreement. Mr. Anderson.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. We've talked about this for a number of months now. This is a basic agreement with Packerland Broadband to provide our basic services. As we talked about in this agreement, this is a non-monetary agreement. This is all the terms and conditions. The agreement is for 10 years. It's a type of agreement that so you don't have to keep coordinating those basic terms that you see in all of the agreements, and then what we're going to do is handle each service separately in addendums, which will deal with cost and service levels. We talked about having a service level agreement, part of this, and with the addendums that has been included. So I think it's proper now to move this forward, and then within the next few weeks we'll start looking at having some of the addendums come forward. One of the things that is part of this agreement is that they will do for free, they will do an evaluation of the system, and we thought that it would probably be proper for them to complete that until before we did the first addendum, which deals with the bandwidth and some of the other issues. So I think, Joe, do you know how long they said it would take? I think it was like 2 to 3 weeks, wasn't it?
Yeah, once everything gets approved, it was, develop everything, it was about a 3-week time.
So we'd like to get this forward so that they can start on that agreement or that evaluation, and then we can bring the other addendums forward once they complete that. We have a chance to review it.
I see under some of the changes, they're gonna be held accountable if they don't provide the service we expect.
That's correct. That's what the service level agreement stipulates. We try to stipulate a level of service, and then there's amount of time. I mean, stuff happens, it happens. Equipment has problems or some issues, a lot of issues. A lot of times it's out of our control out on the main, outside of our service area and Packerland service area. But there's a certain amount of time that they have to correct those issues, and if they don't meet those requirements, it allows us the option to terminate the agreement. I think that each addendum will have the specifics on what that service level will be, and also on the time to make the improvements.
Since more recently, has the communication from Packerland to us been better than what it's been in the past? Where they've had problems and not told us till we asked about them after? Or they've made improvement system changes or upgrades without telling us?
From my standpoint, working with the new individual, I would say yes, that I have a lot better communications than the other person that I dealt with.
They're getting back to us in a timely manner, not?
Oh yeah, very timely. Usually same day.
Chris, looking at this?
Looked it over and gave my notes to Ray, and I think this contract looks really good. I do agree that before we move forward to the addendums, that we should have that technology plan completed and reviewed.
Okay, anything else? Any other questions, comments? Otherwise, I'm looking for a motion.
Make a motion that the cable modem bandwidth management agreement between the City of Norway and Packerland Broadband be approved. Support.
Motion made by Chris, supported by George. Roll call.
Mr. Gotstein?
Yes.
Mr. Ball?
Yes?
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Next, we have Resolution 2015-06, National Arbor Day Proclamation 2015. Mr. Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is something we've been doing the last couple of years. We're recognizing National Arbor Day. This year it's April 24th. It's always the last Friday in April. We have an assembly planned up at the school on the 23rd, 1:30, and we have a conservation district coming in to help us with the kids. I think it's something, we've, for the second year in a row, we're named Tree City USA, and, this is a major component of it, is to get the education.
Okay.
Make a motion we approve resolution 2015-6.
Support.
Motion made by Dr. Hayes, supported by Lee. Roll call.
Mr. Ball?
Yes?
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Gotstein?
Yes.
Next, there was information provided in the packet, but it was not on the agenda. about the change order for repair to the, or a change order for the new utility bucket truck. So the information is there, but, so we'd like to address it now, because the information was provided, and it's on the agenda. So we're gonna add that in right now, because that's where it was in the information. Joe?
Okay, about a year ago, we had ordered a bucket truck to replace one of the older bucket trucks that was giving us a lot of trouble. And it's finally almost at completion. They asked me to come down and do a pre-paint inspection on it. When I went down there and did the inspection, that inspection is typically for any little things that you find that you want to put something here or there, or add a basket or whatever. You do that at that point before it's finished up and delivered. So there were a list of items that were not covered, and I brought it to you as a change order. It's in the packet of information. A lot of the items that we addressed with the manufacturer has a no charge on it, but there are some items that I had installed that had additional charges. If they wanted to address them, total amount of the changes were $4,067. One of the items that I would like to address, item number 10, was brought to my attention regarding the installation from the inverter and outlet on the back of the truck wired in with a ground fault. So if you're operating hand tools, electric hand tools, you have a place to plug it in. That we could do in-house. That doesn't necessarily have to be done at the factory, although, you know, it's a part right now. It's easier to run the wires and stuff. But that particular one was $350. They have to run about 15 feet of wiring and do some installation. The other one that was brought to my attention today was an aluminum, expanded metal aluminum material tray that sits on top of the fiberglass bin. The cost on that was $669. I was asked to get a comparison locally to have that bin built, and I did that today. And although I didn't have a lot of time with the individual to go through it at Peterson, just going real quick, showing him some pictures, showing him the dimensions, giving him the thickness of the aluminum, what my expectations were. He said he could save about, what he figured, about $200 off that $669 building it here, and then we'd install it ourselves. The rest of the items, I really didn't feel like I wanted to take on the extra effort to do them locally here, because they're a little more entailed. I'd rather it done and delivered to us as a completed unit. So that's what I'm asking for.
I got a list, Joe, that I kind of went through, and like I mentioned to you before, I think you could knock $2,000 off this thing, and I'd like you to consider. Number 10, which you had already mentioned.
Yep, that's the outlet.
Okay, number 15.
The aluminum hooks.
Right, on the side rails, installed for the
Yeah.
front and rear ladder hooks for almost $300, okay. Number 16, that's that basket that you just talked about.
Correct, yep, that's the basket. There'd be about a $200 savings on that, George.
Number 18, I had thought that for $365, I think that, I'd like you to look that over and reconsider that.
Okay,
And 19. These, you see go by in every logging truck in town, these 4-inch plastic tubes for your sign holders and kits. That's, you can buy them, actually go over Lawford's and make them.
well, I'm familiar, I can go get PVC tubes, I get
Yeah.
that. But the aluminum brackets that hold them on and to get them all
You
mounted
can buy-
on,
You can buy them separate in catalogs.
and then the aluminum cap that goes on the end,
You can buy them separate.
all right.
How soon do you have to know this, Joe?
they wanted to finish it up and deliver it in about 2 weeks, so. I would say that if you wanted to table it, that's fine. Give me a chance to go through it and address some of the concerns George had.
Well, I gotta
They'll just,
kinda,
hold off on
I
it.
gotta kinda go along with George there, but
Yeah.
if some of this stuff has to be done, we don't wanna hold up the truck getting here. And I do believe we were a little under budget compared to what was allotted for it. Am I right on that?
That is a correct statement, yes. It's about $20,000 under the budgeted amount.
But I think some of this stuff should have been picked up on before, and not now when they're 90% through with the truck.
I think we found this doing a final walkthrough.
Yeah, it was,
Final review of it, that's why.
I'm not blaming it on anybody, Lee.
Yeah.
No, I'm not
because
blaming
stuff-
anybody.
A lot of this stuff is missed. But I'm just, you look through the list, and I think we could save $2,000 here, that's all. What I'm saying, that's stuff that could be done in-house. That's my point. I'm not looking to say, well, we should have caught this, we should have caught that. And because it was under budget, I don't think we got, well, here, we got lots of money, let's put it on.
Right.
so
Well,
I,
it wouldn't save $2,000, it would take $2,000 off the,
well, you're not gonna totally save $2,000.
You'd still have to buy
I still have to
the
buy
parts.
the material and get the work done.
Save 2,000, it's gonna save.
$500, something like that, maybe. I
But
don't
I'm
know.
saying, Doc, that you're gonna save $2,000 off this $4,000 that he wants for the truck, that's what I'm
Right.
comparing.
Yeah, but you're
No,
not
I
gonna-
know you're not saving $2,000 off the price, because it's gonna cost you labor to make this and put it on. But like you said, Peterson saved $100 just on one basket.
Well, I think we should proceed, get us select the things that you want on there and go ahead and do with it. There's no point delaying the delivery of the truck by another 2 weeks if you wanna get it done in 2 weeks. Personal feeling, if you look at $200,000 truck,
Does it really affect too much if you hold out 2 weeks?
No, they'll probably just park it outside and give us time, and then they'll bring it back in and finish it up when I get it approved.
All right.
On whatever we wanna do. I mean, it's not life or death.
I recommend you just
Do
do
you want to make a motion? Somebody want to make a motion one way or another?
Yeah, and then that'll give me a chance to go through and find all these aluminum end caps and stands and different things that we're getting charged for, and then do a proper comparison. George says $2,000, I think it's more like 500 at the end of the day by the time I buy everything, but I'm just speculating, I really don't know that.
well, that was my guess too.
Yeah.
So we need a motion one way or another, approve, deny, or table till the next meeting, 20th.
From what I put together, it's $2,084 is what, so I'll make a motion, we approve less,
But that's not the thing, though. Joe's going to spend $1,000 or more on materials
Yeah,
for that.
I'm still putting this stuff
I'm
on the
working
truck.
off this bill, that's what I'm working off. He's asking for $4,000, $4,064 to up the charge to have this stuff put on. That's what he's looking for
Right.
now. I'm saying, I would be willing to pay, say, $2,000 and minus the things that I mentioned. That's my proposal.
Okay? Is there
The
support?
rest of the council can understand it, okay with it, fine. If not, if they want to do something else,
And
fine.
to me, the question would be, how much is the labor in the 2,000 that we're cutting off? What's their labor versus our labor of putting it on? I think we could have a savings there. So it might be more than the $500 actual,
Well, that's why I said it could have $1,000 worth of materials.
and maybe more. I don't know.
So, okay,
Do you think for 1 minute, excuse me, Jeremy, do you think for 1 minute that these guys from 7 o'clock in the morning till 2:30 at night are over there just up burning wheels? That they don't have time in the day to do some of this stuff?
Well, that's what I'm
Inclement weather or stuff?
That's what I'm saying. We have time to do it.
Exactly.
We can do it in-house, and labor-wise, it would be cheaper than having this company charge us for putting it on.
I would think so.
Okay, there was a motion
even
to
at
approve,
$28 an hour.
approve the 2,000 whatever minus, what did you say?
List the items.
Okay, to approve 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 11, 12, 13, 14, 17, 20, 21, 22, 23 of the items on the list. That was the motion. I don't have a dollar total on it.
Could we cut that down a little more and just knock off the no-charge ones? Because you mentioned some no-charge ones for your numbers there that they're gonna do.
They're gonna do those for no charge, so why would we knock them out?
Okay,
I just- if
they're gonna
not-
do it anyway.
If they're gonna do it free, yeah, but
I just thought it'd be like 13 and 14, okay, that's what we want, we're gonna pay for that. The rest of the stuff, they should be
but
doing
we
at
have
no
to
charge
include it,
anyway.
we have to include it in the change order,
Okay,
because we're changing these requests.
okay.
So the ones that are out are 10, 16, 18, and 19.
10, 15, 16.
10, 15?
10, 15, 16, 18, and 19. That was the motion.
Oh, yeah, material hooks too. Okay.
Is there support?
I'll support.
Okay, roll call.
Mr. Oja,
No.
Mr. Menegini,
Yes.
Dr. Hayes,
No.
Mr. Godstein,
No.
Mr. Ball.
Yes.
Okay, that motion has failed. Is there any other motion?
Could we make a motion to table this to the next meeting?
Is there support?
Support.
Motion made by Chris, supported by Lee to table this till the April 20th meeting.
So my direction at this point would be to
Figure out your
try to
price.
figure out where I'm gonna get the stuff from, how much it's gonna cost to purchase it, and compare that against
And,
what
hey, yeah.
this is. Okay, just so I'm clear on what my
That would be the
expectation.
direction.
Okay, all right.
Roll call.
Mr. Menegini,
Yes.
Dr. Hayes,
No.
Mr. Godstein,
Yes.
Mr. Ball,
The table. That's the
Yes.
motion right now. That's the motion right now.
Yes, Barry.
Mr. Oja,
Yes. Okay, next on the agenda, Resolution 2015-07, Oak Crest Golf Course 2015 green fees and special rates. Mr. Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is the time of year that we pass a resolution with the greens fees for the for the current golf year. When I wrote this up on Friday, I had maybe a more optimistic opening date and really wanted to make sure that we got this on the agenda. After this morning, I'm still hoping that we quickly can get the course open, but we do need to get the green fees passed. In talking with Ryan Gordon, our pro out at the course, he's reviewed the greens fees around us, and that his recommendation is to keep the rates the same, except for we're not going to have a condition 1 on the opening. We'll have a condition level 1 on the closing. So we're going to jump to a level 2 on the opening. So that'll be slightly an increase from last year of how much we had for opening. All else being the same.
Okay, any questions or comments on the greens fees? Otherwise, I'm looking for a motion. Is there any motion at all, except deny or table?
I'll make a motion that resolution 2015-07 be approved and to allow the city manager the authority to make minor changes or additions to the schedule as needed throughout the golfing season.
Second.
Motion made by Lee, supported by Chris. Roll call.
Dr. Hayes,
Yes.
Mr. Godstein,
Yes.
Mr. Ball,
Yeah.
Mr. Oja,
Yes.
Mr. Menegini.
Yes.
Okay, next on the agenda, we have request to purchase city-owned property by Mark Bablani. I think we'll want to start with, Mark, you want to come up from the start, just tell us what property it is. We have the maps, we have the descriptions, just kind of give us an idea.
Okay. I had a chance to meet with the city manager and Jim, the tax man, and I'm talking to Jeremy. I'm interested in purchasing the property that's right directly behind the Norway Spring. It goes from Valley View up along the highway for residency. There is some unbuildable property, would be on the southeast side of that, along the corner of Spring. I believe it's Springview and Valley View. It is a 10-acre parcel. I offered the city $2,000 an acre, even accepting unbuildable spots. So it would be $20,000 offer for 10 acres.
When I had talked to Jim about this, Jim felt the $20,000 offer, last Wednesday when I talked to him, he felt this was a fair offer for that piece of property. Anybody with questions, comments? Bring it up.
Yeah, if this does go through and when, in the past, we've been bit on things like this, Mark. I don't know if you were present on the council or not on some of these where people would come in, and I know up where I live now, the intent to, and they turned around and sold the house, which they weren't supposed to do. It was built on speculation, which they weren't supposed to do. So there's going to have to be a lot of rules and regulations on that. Plus, there's been another offer made on that property, and he was told it's not for sale, so it wouldn't be fair to that person. Also, the last 8 for sure, 8 of 9, on any property like this that the city's owned, but technically is not on their for sale list. Perfect example, that stuff up behind where I live there, we all bought extra. We went through the planning commission because we had no idea if they had any plans for that area. So as of right now, to me, it should be kicked to the planning commission because maybe they have plans for it. I don't know. And I'd hate to go ahead and say, fine, great and dandy, even though it would be unfair to this other person also. Do they have plans for it? I don't know. Ray, do you know if the planning commission has any plans for that area?
Well, there was a number of different ideas that have been floated since I've been here. Nothing concrete. You know, it's just been
Well,
different.
but we got to find out for sure.
Right. I mean,
That's my feeling.
no one's ever really pressured them. There's not a project out in front of them where they said, okay, this is what we're going to have to do. The other thing we looked at again today was it would have to get rezoned because it's right now it's zoned as park. So public property park, it would have to get rezoned. So it would have to go through the rezoning process.
If it was approved for sale upon the approval of the rezoning, I'm looking to secure something fairly soon here. And like I said, we talked about the price and a couple other different things, and I just want to know where I stand with it.
Well, I feel if we're getting a fair price for it, the city doesn't, that I know of, we don't have any need for the property, any planned use for the property. If we're getting a fair price, we should sell it. It cuts it back on the taxes, it gets it out of the city's land holdings. We shouldn't just be holding land.
Well, I kind of object there, Jeremy, because I'll tell you, you've got a water and sewer line that ends right at the beginning of that property. And if you look up the highway, Gene Clover's got probably about a half mile of highway frontage up there. If this property's for sold, you gotta, how is there gonna be water and sewer up to Mr. Clover's property? So
If
I
you
think
were to
if
put-
we cut this off,
If you were to put, George, if you were to put water and sewer easement along the lower 20 feet of that, you would be catching the water bottling. If you ever decided you wanted to build a structure like Dr. Hayes wanted next to the spring for year-round use, you would have the water and sewer available there. You wouldn't, I don't feel you would want to go through the center of the property. I felt you would
Right now,
want to
Mark,
go,
where it's coming, it's coming right down that railroad grade.
but
There
you
is
would
an
also,
obstruction in there already where they put that well, and that was right on railroad grade too. So you already got one obstruction in there already. if you do anything else, you're gonna have to add a pump house and everything else in there in order to pump water.
It's actually not feasible to go through that southeast corner because it is extremely low there.
There's a railroad right there, Mark, it can't be low.
There's a hole there.
There's
On
a
the
hole.
north, on the
There's
north
a
side
hole.
of the grade, there's a hole.
When they,
Yeah,
when
the
they
north side of the
designed,
It's north of the grade.
When
But
they-
the water line comes right down the, right
But
down the
I
grade.
I don't understand why you would want to keep the easement down the center of the property. You're ruining a good piece of property. You would be capturing the same amount,
But look what
same
we're-
thing
look-
that
look
you're
what the
looking
potential-
after.
Look what the potential is up above here, Mark.
I
Piece
know
of
that.
property that we're cutting off, that's my,
What I'm saying though, George, is you're not cutting it off. You would want your water and sewer down along the highway so you could build on those pieces of property that Mr. Carollo has. You could accept a water and sewer tap next to the spring. If the water bottler ever decided that they had to have a water hookup there, it would be accessible. You wouldn't want to come down the center of the property, is what I'm saying. You're ruining a good taxable, this house is going to be a pretty major house. It's going to draw a lot of tax money into this town.
the Norway Spring subdivision design has a very deep sewer. That sewer that they're talking about, which is about 20 feet off the road, is exceptionally deep. And I wasn't here when they put it in. I don't know, I think the city manager at the time was instrumental in the design concept. But I believe that depth was set so that they could come down through that property. Otherwise, why would it? I mean, how deep is it? It's like, how deep is it?
It's
Probably
I've never measured the depth of it, but I didn't go out there with David today. He went out to check it, and so we could have some answers for you tonight. And he told me that was designed, it's large enough and deep enough to accept a pump, like a little mini pump station in it, to serve the Carollo properties. That's why it was built like that. Now, whether or not there's enough elevation, I don't think any of us sitting here today can say, is there enough elevation through that lot to run to that spot and then pump it back up? That's going to have to be looked at, if there is. If we go down along the road like you're talking about, Mark, if that elevation gets us to what that original design was. And I don't know if it was even thought of before.
I know that when the houses were built, some of those houses on that side were built since I've been here, and we've had all sorts of trouble finding the lateral stubs, and part of the reason is because of the depth. And when I question contractors and people who might have been around, that was their definition or description. It was put that way so that they could gravity feed from Carollos. Yeah, that was their description. So
Do you know anything regarding what Lee was saying as far as the land being a park and not being able to be sold? Because when I talked to Mr. Wiseman, he had,
we went through this when the bottling company was looking originally.
and it did get broke off for the bottling company.
Well,
for that piece of
there
property.
was see, I again, maybe not having history helps out a little bit, because I had heard that the property was not available because of a Ford restriction on a lease or a deed. And I looked up at the deeds, and I worked with Jay on it, and it was clearly identified within the deed from Ford that the property identified was the property south of the road. Yeah, that currently holds the spring, so that area is south. The area north was not, and I think in the past, it's been said that we couldn't sell it because of the deed restriction, which is not true. The park designation, I think, was labeled in the zoning because we were thinking of rest stop or doing something associated with the spring. But that hasn't been finalized, other than it was zoned in that manner. So,
I kind of have some of the same objections to what Lee has, and I think the biggest one being zoning, that we need to go through the planning commission and get an idea of what we want to zone it and what plans they have for this property. I also did talk to a realtor and one of the adjacent landowners on the price per acre on this, and they thought it was actually low than the what you were offering.
Well,
on this.
Mr. Wiseman went through, and maybe Jeremy can highlight on this a little bit, or Ray. Mr. Wiseman had a $22,000 property on Mr. Paul's up there, which is all highland, and it's all buildable, marketable hardwood timber.
I don't think
He
it's
has a-
located off of US 2 though.
Well, the majority of this property is all off of US 2. The property that goes up along the corner by Ricky Paul's driveway is extremely shallow, and there is a right-of-way for Ricky Paul's power that goes through there to feed his house. So,
I'm just, like I said,
so
I'm
you,
just
so
giving,
you have a spot up on that corner that has highway frontage, but it does have a stipulation because there is a power easement going through there. So nobody is going to be building anything there with that easement there.
I'm just saying what I learned today from asking around, that the price was lower than what they thought. But my main concerns are what Lee had brought up with the zoning on this property.
And also, he did look at the Tinty property, which used to be the Durkins property, and it is similar in layout as Ricky Paul's. It is part of the same 40. It's all marketable timber, and that one was also on there for $22,000. And this piece of property does have that low-lying area, and there is really no marketable timber on that piece of property. So, and then $2,000 less than what it is, and it's the same amount of property.
Where are you planning on building that house on this piece?
Coming off of Valley View Road,
On the north part of it?
it would be,
Maybe the northwest.
well, it's kind of more in the middle, because if you get too far
Right.
up towards Ricky Paul's, you've got that
Or
power line
northeast.
easement.
Northeast is what I was, sorry.
Yes.
I'm not sure, 'cause you and I haven't had this conversation, but a question was raised about, the location of the sewer line. And because there's a state statute, the drain code, which requires certain tie-ins on distance. I also then looked up, because I didn't know what the exact distance was. I looked up in our ordinance, and it says that if any property located within 100 feet of the sewer line must tie in.
Well, it's going to be further away than that,
No,
because,
your property line is
property
80
line.
feet.
oh, the property.
Property line, yeah, it's very
So-
clear at property line, so, you may want to reconsider the offer, going to planning commission, you may want to reconsider taking the whole thing, because where you actually want to build is up north, whereas the property line goes all the way down, it's 80 feet from the manhole, which means you would have to run a sewer line, down.
Well, I would only be interested in the, we're going to build an expensive house there, and I want to have control of what's going to be right on top of that house. And I wouldn't want anything else that would be.
And I did talk to Jim then this morning, and his recommendation was based on no water, no sewer. With a sewer connection, that makes the land a little more valuable. I mean, that's what's his
But the
concept.
sewer connection, though, the extension would have to be paid for by me, right?
Right.
Okay, so I mean, he's saying that the water that the property is going to be worth more, but I have to pay for the sewer extension.
Right. I'm just, I'm not an appraiser, and so, I can't comment on that. I can say though, that maybe we should maybe you need to look at it
Well, I'd like to
differently,
know where I stand with it, because if this is not an option, then I'm going to move forward and do something different.
I've got two concerns. One is that Mr. Nowicki, Dr. Nowicki, proposed that we put a trail from Norway up to Quinnipiac along US 2. And I was going to bring that up later, and I think it would have to go right through that property. So I'd like to see, if we were going to sell it, some easement that we would be able to put a trail through
well, somebody was interested in buying it, John, well, you should have a letter in your packet there.
It was on
And
the
he was
table.
told no, it was not for sale. I'm just saying, and it wouldn't be fair to that person. All of a sudden, it's okay. That, and again, like I said, that it should go through the planning commission. I don't really know, and I don't think there's anybody here that really knows. Do they have plans for it?
I don't,
There you go.
there's no plans that I know of.
That you know of, but is there? There's no plans that I know of either, but I'm not on the planning commission.
Like I said, I think it's property, we're getting a fair price for it, and I don't think we should be holding property. So we're getting a fair price, I feel we should sell it.
I'm not arguing the price. Just saying it wouldn't be fair to the other person, and it should go through the planning commission like the last 9 or 10 pieces.
Is there any motion?
I'll make a motion to deny the request of the city of the property.
Support.
Is there any stipulations? I mean, going in front of the zoning, going in front of the planning commission, or is it just a fallout? No.
No, go to the planning commission. As I said, find out. Do
But
they
it's
have
not in
plans?
his stipulation.
His motion
It's
was
not
just
his
to deny.
motion.
My motion just to deny it, and you can take the next step if you want to take it to planning commission. That's your decision.
Support. Okay, motion made by Chris, supported by Lee, roll call.
Mr. Gotstein?
Yes.
Mr. Ball?
Yep.
Mr. Oja?
No.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Dr. Hayes?
No.
That's our business. If you had other items, if you wanted to come up now.
Thank you. Again, I'm Tom Drudy, I represent Kaiser Hydro, located at 1001 Stevens Street, Norway, Michigan. We just became aware that the city may be looking to acquire a new runner for their hydro plant, and we were aware that they were probably talking to Norcan out of Canada, who's a known importer of Chinese runners and hydro equipment. And we were just hoping that the city would extend to us, as well as other American companies, a chance to bid on this project, as we are a union employer here in town, use 100% U.S. steel, American steel, and we'd just like the opportunity to be included in the bid process, as the lead time on a runner is normally 6 to 8 months anyway.
I'm not aware that we were looking at putting in a new runner. I think we're repairing the runners that we have, as far as I know. That was
The reason that Norcan was contracted to evaluate the 3D scan was to evaluate the existing runners that were in there, never to have a new runner built.
Okay. Well,
That's what it is.
I would just like to be kept in mind that if that new runner is sought, as well as other companies, get a chance to bid
Yeah.
on it. Thank you.
Understood, Tom.
Thank you.
Does anyone else from the audience wish to address the council on any topic? If you do, please come up to the podium, state your name and address for the record. Okay, Chris. George. Dr. Hayes.
Where are we coming on the annexation of the two pieces of property? Is there any on that?
I'm currently trying to find out what the term unimproved means, because that's the definition that you have to have is either a park, it has to be city-owned, but either a park or unimproved property. Is a gravel pit considered unimproved? You know, we're having to research that. The area, the Hanbury Lake is not an issue. I mean, that's a park. So you're better off to just do them all in one fell swoop with your resolution. So once we have that, we'll bring it forward.
Is there any feeling on that, Grant? I know you're working on that.
You know, I guess you can make arguments both ways, unimproved and improved. At this point, frankly, the city of Norway has a lot of different projects in the hopper. That hasn't been my priority over the last couple of weeks. I can make it a priority if I'm directed to, but you know, kind of hitting some bigger fish as we go along here.
Still working on it, Doc.
Okay, I was just wondering if we're making any progress, because I'd like to see both of those pieces of property annexed, and I agree it's probably better to
Doc, if we can, I'll put that up to the, I'll talk to our research staff attorney and put that to the top of the list to try to get you an answer sooner.
But I don't think there's any reason you'd call it improved, because it certainly isn't improved.
A
That's-
gravel
we
pit
can't
itself might be considered an improvement to the property.
Yeah, you're
Well,
actually, it's a project.
There's less gravel there than it used to be, so it's unimproved. It was literally destroyed and full of lead, so I would say that it's unimproved. The other thing that I brought up earlier is that the DDA apparently passed a resolution to put DDA money into the sewer fund, and I know Jeremy has spoken against it, voted no against it, I believe, at the time, and the last time George said he agreed with it, that we shouldn't be using taxes to support utilities. And so I'd like to know where that stands. Does the council need to make a resolution to formally reject that idea? Because I think ultimately any monies that they spend has to be to the council, or has to.
Well, I was just gonna take it out. I was gonna take it out of the budget and,
At the discussion, we informally, we never did an actual motion, but the direction is clear.
I mean, the direction was clear, and why don't you, at the next DDA meeting, I'll just tell them, I don't think they're gonna argue with you, that monies that they'll use for other projects. We've got some work that the DDA needs to do. We have maintenance work on Main Street, Norway Spring, is an area within the district. So we have some work that we need to look at anyway, so. If your interest with what you basically have indicated is that you wouldn't like them to use their monies that way, I don't think they're gonna argue with it. Now, if they're insistent, then, I come back and just let you know.
They passed the resolution, and so.
Well, they did, but they can, I'll mention it to them at their next meeting, they can probably rescind that resolution, and then, if they are intent, then I'll come back and let you know, and then you can pass a resolution requesting they rescind that, I guess is where you'd be.
And their next meeting is before ours,
Yeah.
so we'll know by the 20th.
We don't have to make a resolution. That was my concern, is that I didn't want to see that money spent. There's so many projects that can make this city a better place, and I don't think we should be using tax dollars, even if they're captured taxes from the county, to lower utility rates, falsely lower utility rates. If we have to modify our projects, then we modify our projects, but I don't think we should use taxes to reduce utilities. It, to me, doesn't make any sense.
When I had argued against it at the meeting, my argument was the DDA does a lot of good projects with their money outside of that. I hated to lose that or reduce that as a funding source for other projects where they could better spend their money.
I think we all pretty much agreed with you on that one.
Okay.
Well, I've got a big thing to bring up, but I'll bring it up next time.
Okay. Lee.
Two dirty words, compost site. What's the status on it? I see.
The new
They're
site?
used, the new site. I see we're using the old one, yeah.
We're using
Again.
the old one, and I mean,
Until we get, there's so much work in the new site that we gotta let it dry up a little bit. I mean, we gotta put a fence up, we gotta clean up a dump area. It's gonna be well into later spring.
How long ago did we decide to move it out there?
it's been
Almost 2 years?
2 years. Last year, we lost all of our projects because of the work we did all year based on the water repairs. I mean, we lost a whole year on that. So, I know that, we're asking our crew, to do the work, and, like I said, we lost a whole year. There were a number of we didn't do a tree planting last year. We didn't do a lot of things because they just spent all summer fixing and repairing water lines. So we're back on to the projects we were going to do.
Think we'll have
last
it
year.
for this fall?
It's on the schedule. Lee, there's so many things that come up unexpectedly all the time. With the amount of people that are working in that department, that I would love to tell you absolutely, but I can't. I just can't.
That's all I have.
I don't have anything. Joe?
No.
Mary? Grant?
No, thank you.
Ray?
Oh, I'm fine.
With that, we're looking for a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Motion made by Chris, supported by George. Roll call.
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Gotstein?
Yes.
Mr. Ball?
Meeting